Your first real sail is supposed to be what dreams are made of. You've sunk your life savings into a boat, spent years fixing her up, and it's finally time for that payoff sail into the sunset. But our first passage was not quite that. First we lost the autopilot, then we misjudged the weather and sailed into a storm.
It's a whole lot worse than we thought.
Then we had a major radio fail. And then at night, I almost crashed into the back of our buddy boat. In the morning, the port engine mounts broke, so we lost an engine. And an hour later, the other engine stopped working because I may have ran over something. But before we get into it, let me give you a quick life update. We are this close from moving aboard and starting to cruise full time. Over the past few months, we've been selling off everything in the house and fixing all the things the kids have broken over the past 10 years. Why do they need to draw on everything? We've been prepping the boat, fixing the engines, and somehow we have to fit everything left in our 2,500 square foot house into a couple of cabins and storage lockers. It's been crazy, but we can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. Back to our maiden passage. It was me, Mary, and 2 of our 4 kids. Those 2 right there, actually. We had just finished a year in the boatyard, and we just splashed the boat back into the water 2 days earlier. Our boatyard neighbors were about to sail across Panama, and they invited us to buddy boat. The problem was we didn't really know how to sail at the time. We had done a short sea trial to make sure the repairs that we'd done held together, and I got a crash course on all the basics of sailing. So the gray is the water, right? I'm kidding, I know.
Oh my God.
But I hadn't even docked the boat by myself one time. But the bigger problem was we needed to bring this boat from Panama all the way back to Texas, which is like a 2-week sail. And we couldn't afford to pay a captain $10,000 to do it. So we had to learn somehow. I'm not one to back down from a challenge, so when my buddy Colin asked, "Hey bro, you wanna come to Bocas with us?" I was like, "For sure, dude, we're in. But any chance you can let me borrow one of your crew? Just to have an extra hand, you know?" Enter Jamie.
Jamie!
AKA the big fella. First mate on Parlay Revival.
We'll probably fuck it up.
And we definitely wouldn't have made it without him. So they were leaving from Shelter Bay and we were leaving from Linton Bay. And our goal was to get to Bocas del Toro 30 hours this way. But first, we had to meet somewhere in the middle of the ocean. The problem is neither of us had AIS, which is a tracking beacon on your boat that broadcasts your location so other ships can see you and not crash. Neither of us had radar either.
Do you have a radar?
Nope, no radar.
No?
So basically we were just winging it. They go this away, we go that away, and after about 6 hours, we would meet somewhere over here. All right, this is actually happening. We had gone from watching sailing YouTube from the couch to sailing on our own boat, but I was too nervous to enjoy it. Jamie pulled us out of the marina, and just like that, we were sailing. The best part was I finally had the family with me. From the beginning, we were having issues with the autopilot. It would work for an hour, but then it would give out and start alarming. Now, autopilot on a boat is nothing like on a Tesla. All it's supposed to do is hold a heading so you don't have to pull on the steering wheel the whole time because it gets tiring really fast. We could get it working again by running downstairs and resetting the whole navigation system like this. A bit annoying, but not too big of a deal. Now, finding each other in the middle of the ocean was supposed to be the hardest part of this trip. But by late afternoon, we actually spotted them right at the horizon. Jamie saw them first.
Jamie.
I see nothing. I don't know how he sees anything.
Nothing.
Oh, I see just like a shadow of a mast.
So apparently they had seen us way earlier and were chasing us as we pulled away. We had turned the engines on to charge the batteries because our batteries are
Trash. It runs the autopilot for a few hours and then there's no more juice. So we're running the engine so it can charge, keep our autopilot going.
This meant we were motor sailing, which means we're sailing with the motors on, which makes us a couple of knots faster. So for hours, they were trying to catch up as we were pulling away.
So we want to go that way, but we're coming straight into the wind of the sea just to try and catch up with him a little bit.
We just thought they were taking their time, you know? Eventually, they had to go full throttle on both engines as a last-ditch effort to catch us before it got dark, none of which I knew at the time. So you're probably wondering why they didn't just radio us to slow down. Well, we may or may not have had our radio on or on the right channel.
Every time we turn, try and get close to Dave, see if they're okay or make some sort of communication because their radio's on. Turn it into like a game of cat and mouse. That's where ours.
I could have swore it was on. Here's one of their crew trying to signal us, pointing at the radio. I just thought he was waving at me out of the pure joy of finding us in the middle of the ocean. But apparently they had been getting extremely frustrated that we weren't responding.
Quite frustrating. Very, very, very. Yes, we follow you, puppy.
I don't think this is a very good idea, flying this drone while we're sailing. It's quite windy, and it's a really expensive drone that his brother gave him.
Landing a drone on a boat is one of the most difficult parts of making boat videos. You can't not get the epic shots, but every time it flies, there's basically a 10% chance that you'll never see that drone again. Taking off is easy, you just throw it into the air, but landing, you gotta time the vertical movement of the waves plus the constantly changing boat speed. Your instinct is just to like reach up and grab it, but if you overshoot even slightly, your fingers get sliced up by the props.
Oh my God.
And if you wait too long, then the boat shifts and it crashes.
Oh!
Yeah.
We did it! We did it! We didn't lose the drone! I missed it the first time around. It went through the shrouds and the mast. Almost hit Jamie in the face. Between boat work and moving out of the house and the 4 kids, we're spread so thin right now and coffee alone is not cutting it. So for the past 2 weeks, I've been taking this mental performance shot called Magic Mind, and it actually works. When I drink a bunch of coffee, I'm definitely less tired, but I also get that annoying amped up feeling, you know? Magic Mind has 12 natural ingredients that improve focus while reducing stress. One of them is L-theanine, which extends your body's absorption of caffeine and reduces cortisol. Yes, I actually researched it. It's literally a caffeine hack that keeps me alert for longer and cuts out the jitters. So I hide my stash up there because the kids are obsessed with the tiny bottles. If you're looking for a mental boost and a bit more energy, you have to try these shots. They're awesome, and it actually works. The only downside is it's not cheap, but use code DAVIDSHEET20 for a huge discount. They have a 100-day refund policy, no questions asked, and you'll really support this channel if you check them out. So just as it starts to get dark, they finally catch up to us, and I'm thinking, okay, it's smooth sailing from this point on.
We're just worried about Parlay coming up behind us.
Yep, we just put in a reef because it's nighttime, and
Hang on. If something happens to Parlay and they're going to turn upwind, they're going to hit us.
And we still have no idea that they had been gunning the engines trying to catch us. They were screaming something, but we couldn't quite make it out.
Turn your radio on! Turn your on 72! I told you 69! We're just trying to make sure you're okay! Yeah. They should be fast.
Guys, I've been chasing you for hours, trying to see if you're okay. You keep running away from us. Jamie, it was channel 69. Your anchor light's on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to fix the nav lights right now. No nav lights, so we just have the anchor light on.
And the autopilot keeps cutting in and out. So that's why we're all over the shop.
Batteries are bad, man, so we gotta run the engine.
If you got an engine running, you should be able to keep up with us, yeah?
All right, we'll follow you.
Okay, standing by on channel 69. That's a 6 and then a 9. 69. Jamie's favorite number.
6'9". I repeat, 6'9".
Lesson learned, radio needs to be on and on the right channel. Are the kids down?
They are down, but they're still awake. And it's already like midnight.
We try to get them down around 9 or 10 because that's the only time we have alone. Otherwise, they're all up in our space. Anyways, they're down.
Life pro tip, don't have 4 kids. Like 2 is plenty. All right, so that beeping you're hearing, that's actually the autopilot failing. So it tries to hold, and then if the wind or the waves or whatever pushes it off course, then it'll start beeping and tell you, hey, take over, because it'll start swerving. And it started happening more and more. Late into the evening, it was like every 10 minutes, we'd have to do the whole reset thing. And eventually it just would stop working altogether. So that means we were hand steering.
At 2:30 in the morning, they come downstairs and they're like, Mary, we need your help. And they're like, the autopilot is out. We need to hand steer, but we're so tired.
And hand steering is like the most annoying thing to do. You're like holding this and you're just like rocking the waves, just putting you to sleep.
This is my first time steering ever. And they say, that's parlay in front of us. You see that tiny little light? Just follow that.
So that's the stern light. It's like a flicker and you have no idea how close or far you are to it.
So Jamie is sleeping here on the bench next to me. David's up there, and I'm just like this, glued, and I'm like this. And so the boat, if you move it slightly to the left or to the right, it just goes psh, or this way or psh, that way. Anyway, Jamie, every little bit, he'd wake up and say, Mary, you're off course. I'm like, God dang it, how does he know that? It took a little while, but I got the hang of it. It was so tiring.
Mary wakes me up. I'm like taking this seriously now. I'm like captain, okay? I'm like, boom. I'm steering, both hands on the wheel, 11 and whatever, 10 and 2, and focused. I'm watching that stern light, but then I feel like it's getting too far away, and I'm terrified that Parlay is gonna leave, and then we just have nothing to follow. I'm just gonna turn on the engines a little bit. And then Jamie's like, oh, you probably shouldn't do that. You're gonna get us too close. But then Jamie goes downstairs and I'm like, I'm just gonna do it a little bit just so I can catch up. I'm just driving and steering. I'm in a daze, right? And out of nowhere, whoosh, it was like a ghost ship appearing out of the fog. And I'm like, oh shit! And I swerve. Everything moves really slowly on a boat. So you swerve, but it's like really slow. And then once it goes, then it goes like too far.
Yeah.
And so I almost crash into the back of our buddy boat. So mistake number, whatever this one is, don't follow too close to the boat in front of you. We thought it would be another 14 hours to focus, just smooth sailing, but that's actually when the real problem started happening.
Oh my God, it's crazy out there. It's crazy.
This is crazy. Me, the kids, we woke up to this huge storm going on outside. Jamie and David are upstairs soaking wet. We've got a sick one here.
Times last night and this morning.
She's not feeling well.
One of our engines are broken. Not the engine itself. The 2 mounts that the engine sits on have separated from the rubber, so it's shifted off about 1 inch. We can't use the port engine. Where's that smell?
And I remember just standing right here, looking down at the engine, watching it run, and I could see it shifting with each wave as it went up. It would rock up this way as we were cresting a wave, and then fall back down as we went down the other side of the wave. I was like, is that normal? And at that point, the sail drive was the only thing holding the engine in place. So I screamed up to Jamie, port engine off! One engine, it's not the end of the world. Except, an hour into running that starboard engine, we hear this huge bang, and then everything shuts off, and it's complete silence, which is an eerie feeling in the middle of the ocean. We immediately try to start it back up, but nothing happens. It's completely stuck in gear and I can't get it out. And of course, I come check the engine and everything looks fine. I can't see anything weird. I'm wiggling against the shifter, trying to like pop it into neutral, while Jamie is up there wiggling the throttle. Nothing happens. And then Jamie's like, we probably ran over something. So I'm ready to just jump in and take a look because we're just floating at this point. But Jamie's like, whoa, 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 you should tie a line to yourself so you don't just float away. Instantly, I see the same dock line that I have tied around me wrapped up around our propeller.
We caught our own line. What is it? Yeah, we caught a line.
This rope is like 1 inch thick. I'm holding the prop and trying to turn it. It's totally stuck. I'm literally down there, like upside down with my feet against the bottom of the hull, just like cranking as hard as I can, and the prop would not even budge.
The wind blew our forward dock line, which was coiled on the deck up onto the trampoline. and down through the trampoline. And as the water was hitting it, it was pulling it and pulling it all the way back into this prop. Eventually, Mary gets me a box cutter, and I'm like down there trying to like saw away at it. But the tip won't reach in far enough. I can get like a couple of strands and I can peel it away, but 15 minutes in, I'm literally making no progress. Jamie hops in with this huge horror film kitchen knife and he's sawing away at it. He can't get it to do anything. We're taking turns coming up for a breath, and then the other guy would go down. We make this snorkel out of some tubing, but we're going too deep, but there's too much pressure and the hose collapses. The hull is like smashing down on our head. You're expending so much energy, you can only breath hold for like 20 seconds before you run out of air.
He's having to go up and down because he can't breathe. I think we need some scuba gear.
At this point, I would have quit if not for Jamie. We just weren't making any progress, but he just kept on going back down there, so I had to keep on trying. This is probably the biggest lesson that I learned on this passage. You know, sailing is not just about the technical stuff of like how to trim sails, when to reef, what RPMs you run the engines. It's about having the experience to know what to do when everything goes wrong. These don't really work. All right, I got the technique down. I gotta brace my feet on this ladder, and then I got a much better grip. So we spent another hour trying to cut away at little strands, peeling it away with our fingers. We're exhausted. All of a sudden, Jamie's able to shift the propeller just ever so slightly backwards, and that's when we were able to pop it out of gear.
I think we did it. Jamie actually loosened it. We're spinning it backwards now. He was able to loosen the prop. We're unwinding some of this. There's a tiny bit left that's stuck in there. I'm gonna use pliers.
And then I went back down and I started cranking on the line again. I was able to pull a bit more out, and as I pulled it out, I was able to cut some more, and then all of a sudden it was completely free. All right, that's good.
I cannot believe we did it. Sail drive is probably effed.
He fires the engine up and it just comes to life, and we go from 0 engines to 1. Unfortunately, that huge shock of going from like 2,400 RPMs down to 0 in an instant did some more damage that we didn't figure out until later. Lesson learned, no dock lines on deck. We were making really good time, hitting 8 knots motor sailing, but then it started to storm again.
Pouring. We're gonna drop the main. Squall's coming through. You want me into the wind?
You're supposed to see the wind coming and get the sails down before it hits, but this squall came out of nowhere. Then it got rough, really rough, and things started sliding around. Why I thought I would need a bunch of backup batteries that don't even fit our boat, I'll never know. In the middle of it all, Mary yells up,
The water faucet stopped working.
It was one thing after another, and then the starboard engine got stuck in gear again.
Then lift the engine, just make sure you don't hear anything.
Right away, I could see the engine levitating off the mounts, then dropping back down, just like on the other side.
This motor mount is well.
The drivetrain stopped so hard when it caught the line that it must have shook the engine and broke the mounts. With both engines broken and the sails down, we actually started drifting backwards because there was a 3-knot current coming from Bocas del Toro. If we didn't figure something out, we'd have to turn around and head back.
It's a whole lot worse than we thought. Yeah! We lost both engines. Starboard side is stuck in gear. We got no water now, and the autopilot is completely screwed up. Not to mention our compass isn't working. Colin's too far out of range to hear our radio calls, so we're on our own. We gotta figure this out. I locked it. Let me show you. I gotta point it out to you. I locked it. I got an idea. I can strap down the mount. Give me 10 minutes, engine off, and then I got this. Luckily, we have these massive zip ties. I'm gonna see if I can zip tie the engine mounts back together. Shifted about a centimeter starboard.
If we were on land, I'd order a set of these. Then back out these bolts, jack up the engines, and do a quick swap. But out here, zip ties, baby. They're the marine version of duct tape and can be used to fix anything. First, we have to realign the engines.
I'm gonna go forward.
These guys are rated at 200 pounds each. They should have plenty of holding power to keep the engines from bouncing around. Use a pair of pliers to pull them tight, and then some garden shears to clip the ends. Repeat until you run out of zip ties, and we're back in business.
It's working, dude. It's working.
Once we got the engines working again, it was pretty smooth sailing considering everything.
Here you go.
We enjoyed some homemade pancakes and a couple of refreshing energy drinks. A pot of dolphins even escorted us into the evening. And then we rolled into Bocas del Toro around midnight, which brings us to mistake number 57. Never come into an anchorage at night because you can't see anything.
All right, Mary, you're on the spotlight. Whoa. You're gonna shine it up and away from the boat. If it shines on the boat, it's gonna blind us.
This is what we were seeing at night, and this is what it looked like the next morning. I did bring a lot of charts though, we did that right.
All right, we've got all of our charts out. The Bauhaus charts on OpenCPN, we got Navionics, we got a backup Navionics, we've got our really horrible chart plotter.
And Jamie had been here before, so he helped us avoid all the major hazards like this huge pirate ship we saw the next day.
No.
The anchor windlass didn't work at first, but I just forgot the
Starboard engine needs to be on, right? I think that's it. Anchor's dug in. We're good, and we made it.
And we found Parlay right there. See how close that airplane was?
What a crazy passage.
And what an amazing night at anchor.
Let's go do a debrief with Parlay.
How'd you sleep?
Good morning, we made it. Yay!
How was that sail? You get seasick?
How many times you throw up?
0.
That's right, because you're a sailor. Don't hold back at all. I want the complete truth.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I'll spare you from the hour-long debrief, but the gist of it was, we made so many mistakes and have so much to learn.
And your radio on!
But I did one thing right, and that was having Jamie come along. And now I'll leave you with some wisdom from the big man himself.
Yeah, the big thing was I've never had kids on board. That's what keeps you going. Probably killed Dave, but I didn't want to kill the kids.
Subscribe.
I knew that we're never going to die.
Well, that's good to hear.